Hey darlings, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for being here. If you are new to my channel, you're very much welcome. Please click that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that whenever I post a new video, you get to watch. So today I want to share with you guys how I attain this unique sleeve by manipulating a basic sleeve pattern to add a circle or a flare or a butterfly sleeve on a basic sleeve. If you want to know how to achieve this, make sure you watch to the end and give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you. So guys, I started off with folding in the fabric I'll be needing, and I want you to be observant on how to cut the sleeve. As you can see how I folded the sleeve into. It's going to be cut on fold. This area right here will be closed while this area is open. Now the length of sleeve I want to cut is 17 inches, but I'm not going to measure out 17 inches length for my sleeve. I'm going to be adding about 4 inches to that measurement for the manipulation. Now this 4 inches I added to the length of my sleeve is not a standard. As we go on with the tutorial, I'll show you where and how to make adjustments that will fit into your own measurements. Now I'm going to measure out this 4 inches I mentioned earlier on. So here, as you can see, I've measured out that 4 inches, and on this area right here, I'm going to be placing my basic sleeve pattern right there, and I'm going to be marking it out on that space right there. So guys, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please take 1 second and click that subscribe button and your notification bell on. Thank you. Here, I've already marked out the basic sleeve block right here, as you can see, and this sleeve block is about 17 inches long. Right here is the side seam of my basic sleeve block with the seam allowance right there. So the next thing I need you to do is to start from this point and measure all the way to this point. Take note of this measurement as we move over to the next level. Now after taking this measurement right here, we're going to be using it to form a new arm side for our armhole. Okay, by extending it to this 4 inches we made earlier on above this area. And to do that, the first thing we are going to do is to take from this point, we're going to make a straight line from this area up to this 4 inches extra we marked above our basic sleeve. Now the next thing I did after marking this extension line right here, and we've measured this area. Now with the measurement, I'm going to take my French curve and mark the same measurement and extending it to this 4 inches extra we marked above our basic sleeve. Now, as this is a simple curve to make, you don't need any sophisticated instrument to make this. You mustn't use a French curve. Just make sure that the measurement you took earlier on is well interpreted in this area. Here, as you can see, as I've said earlier on, this is not a sophisticated curve. It's just a simple curve from this point to the extension you made above your sleeve area. So this is where the adjustment comes in. So here at this area of my sleeve is 8.5 inches, and it matches well with what I have here. So assuming yours is 9.5 inches, that means the extension you are going to be making is a +1 inch, which is 5 inches extension to your basic sleeve. So if yours is less, the reverse will be the case. But after making this adjustment right here, and it's even more than what you measured earlier on, since it's a flare sleeve, you can always split it at the shoulder of your sleeve, so it's not even a problem. So from this point, I'm going to be measuring down 10 inches. So here, after measuring down the 10 inches from this point to this point, the next thing I'm going to do now is to determine where I want the hole at the sleeve area to be. And I'm just going to measure from this sleeve cap area down by 10 inches, and I'm going to mark it right there. But when I say hole, I mean the opening at the sleeve area. Okay, so I'm going to mark 10 inches right there. As you can see it, I've measured it already from the sleeve cap down 10 inches right there, and I'm going to connect it with a curved line up to this point. Now after doing this, the modification for the sleeve is complete. Now the next thing I'm going to do right now is to add seam allowance. From this point, I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance from this point up to this point. Now after doing that, this is what it looks like. And the next thing I'm going to do right now is to cut out my sleeve according to this marking from this point to this point also. Let me cut this out and show you what it should look like. So guys, this is your new sleeve and this is what it looks like after cutting it. Now the next thing you're going to do is to cut out an interface for this. So after cutting out, you're going to notch this area on both sides of your sleeve for easy sewing. Now the next thing I'm going to cut now is the cuff area of this sleeve, and this is about 5 inches long right here. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to fold this into 2. I'm just going to fold it into 2 and I'm going to show you what next I did. So now the next thing I did after this is to further fold this towards my right hand side. And after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the measurements of the sleeve cuff to this area. Now to find the measurement, I'm going to be measuring where it's going to sit on the sleeve, which is from this point to this point. And you're not going to be adding the seam allowances to this measurement. Now you're going to be taking the same measurement, mark it above this area, which is the open-ended area of your sleeve. And at this close-ended, you're going to minus 1/2 inch from that measurement and mark. Now, as you can see now, I've marked this right here. And the next thing I'm going to do is to add my seam allowance right there. And I'm going to cut this out. So this is what it looks like after marking. Now the next thing I'm going to do is cut out my sleeve cuff. So here it is, set and ready. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to show you how I made my button holders. And this is just an elastic band, the tiniest version of elastic band. As you can see, it is quite stretchy. So what I just did to make this button holder is just to fold this like this and then use my machine to stitch it together to form a buttonhole. So now that we've prepared all that we'll be needing for this sleeve project, we are going to go over to sewing proper. The first step is to open your sleeve up to the right side of your fabric, and then we're going to sew on the button holders. As you can see right here, you're going to be sewing it on the part of the sleeve that will be at the front side of the bodice. That is where you're going to be sewing your button holders. And while sewing it, you're going to sew in as much as you will be needing based on your desire. And here, I'm just spacing it out by 2 inches between each button holders. And note that this button holder is going to be sitting across the seam line. I'm going to bring my camera closer and show you what it looks like. So right here, as you can see, the button holders are sitting right across the side seam area. Now the next thing you're going to do is to place your interface right side to right side, your main fabric, and you're going to sew it on this area of your sleeve. Now after sewing this, the next thing you are going to do before turning it to the right side is to notch these areas before you turn it to the right side of your sleeve. So now you've turned to the right side of your fabric, as you can see right here. The next thing for you to do is to stitch these areas close. You're going to close this area with stitches from here to this point. Now the next thing you're going to do now is to just sew the side seam of your sleeve, and I'm just going to sew it from this point downwards. Now after sewing this, the next thing is to turn this to the right side, and this is what I have here. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do now is to sew in my buttons to match with the buttonholes. Now we're going to be making the sleeve cuff. Now the first thing we are going to do here is to sew on the buttonhole as well at this area. And as you can see, I've measured down 1/2 inch above the sleeve cuff before putting on the button holder. This is because the 1/2 inch there will be used for sewing the sleeve cuff to the main sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to close it like this, and then I'm going to run stitches from this area down and from this area downwards with the seam allowance I marked earlier on. Now I'm going to be turning it to the right side of the fabric, and this is what it should look like after sewing. Next, I'm going to be sewing the sleeve cuff to the sleeve itself. So here, I'm going to match the button holders to stay on the same lane. And next, I'm going to be matching the notch on my sleeve cuff to the midpoint of the main sleeve like this. And I'm going to stitch from these areas to one side of the sleeve cuff. After doing that, you should have something like this. As you can see here, I've sewn one side already. To complete the sewing, I'm simply going to fold in the remaining ½ inch as I mentioned earlier on, and I'm going to stitch along this area. I'm going to top stitch it onto the sleeve up to the end, and when you're done with that, your sleeve is ready. You can sew it onto your basic bodice or onto the bodice you want to use it for. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you are yet to subscribe. Let me know what you think about the sleeve on the comment section below. See you guys in my next tutorial. Take care of yourselves. Bye.